Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to be looking at how to critique the ribbon spine portion of the rig. And so what I actually have here is basically the rig with the legs already rigged. So I'm just going to ignore this because this is not part of what you're looking at for this particular project. So we're just going to focus on only the ribbon spine portion. Okay. As always, we're going to open it up, make sure everything's nice and organized, make sure everything is nice and named. And that does include the NURBS planes. That needs to be named in here. Same thing with, spine or the neck. They all need to be named, okay? So you have to do that. All right. Um, so this is going to be the first time we have controllers. So we want to make sure that our WorldCon works. So we want to make sure we click WorldCon, move it around. Looks like it's working. It's moving the entire rig with it. Same thing with the placement con, and the same thing with the root con. Now again, we're not talking about the feet. This will be for the next project, okay? I'm purely looking at the fact that the root controller is moving all of the controllers around here, okay? All right, functionality. We want to click on the controllers, and we want to make sure that the controllers will bend properly. So will that bend? Yes. Looks good. Okay. Twist it. Looks good. Now we want to make sure that the actual stretchability of this is actually functional. So I'm looking at is the distance as I stretch out the controllers, the distance between the controllers and the follicle joints. Is that staying consistent? Yeah, it's staying consistent. Looks good. Okay. When I bend the rig, is there anything in the tail or the spine that ends up looking a bit blocky? And with the ribbon, I don't see anything real disjointed in here. So if you did see something that looks very segmented, then that can mean that the weight painting on the ribbon spine might be a little bit segmented and it just needs to be smoothed out. So you can right click and basically go through each one of these control joints and you can just tell it to smooth. Go by smooth and hit flood a few times and then I'll actually smooth it out for you. Okay. We also want to make sure that each one of these joints, the control joints, has a skin cluster attached to it. Okay, so we're just going to click on the joints, make sure the word skin cluster is right here. What that's telling us is that that joint is joined by a skin cluster to this plane, and that's what we're wanting. If any of these joints don't have a skin cluster, that means that they weren't skinned properly to the plane and they just need to be added in. You can do this by clicking the geometry, clicking the joint, go under rigging, skin, edit influence, add influence. You can add it in there. We also want to make sure that you have enough follicle joints to actually make it worth having this as a ribbon spine. Having one follicle joint right where the control joint is, it doesn't really do you anything, honestly. You need to have multiple follicle joints per section or per span of control joints to actually have that stretching and that fall off that gives you that really nice organic movement. Okay, so you're going to go in and test the spine joints as well. Make sure they bend, and they should bend the entire upper half of the body. You want to make sure everything's named, nothing has any translations or rotations on it. It looks good. All right, so that's what we're looking at purely for this project. One last thing we want to do, just to prove the point, is we want to grab all of the controllers. Actually, let me do it this way. And we want to test to make sure everything is zeroed out or can be zeroed out and returns to an original position. So what I'm going to do is go to show, none, go to show, and then turn off only the NURBS curves. And then I'm going to go to translate and select down to rotate and type in 0. And it should go back to its original position. If it doesn't, if it collapses or tears apart, then we know we have an issue. We know that the person that you're critiquing did not freeze their transformations properly. So you want to put that comment in for the critique. And that'll be it, aside from making sure that the organization looks good. So here at this point, we're going to have our joints group, still going to have our mesh group, and you're going to have your ribbon spine setup group, okay? And then also the con group. So you want to make sure your con, everything is all nice and organized. Make sure everything is named the way it should be, okay? And yeah, that's it.